All right. Hello and welcome to the Sugar and Spice podcast, A Secret Marriage Diary, where I interview couples as well as discuss topics on different ways to keep your marriage and relationship thriving emotionally, physically, and mentally. My name is Latoya Haynes Piper, owner and romantic getaway travel specialist at Travel Romantic Getaways, helping couples ignite and maintain their passion for each other through romance travel. So on today's show, we have guest Dr. Joy. Dr. Joy is a top performing bedroom candy consultant, trainer, and author. For almost a decade, she has worked in the education of intimacy with singles, couples, and undefined or complicated relationships. Her workshops and events offer insight to how sexiness can be included in everything. Why? Because everything's sexy. Dr. Joy, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and speak with us today and provide us with some knowledge and some insight, because these are some topics I got to definitely say will not be for the kiddo. So I definitely want to just let you know right now. And so I really appreciate you coming out today. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm so happy to share. And you said exactly what you needed to say. Like, this little mouth of mine.
Okay, I just want to
it comes out.
So anybody that watches today's episode, I just want to let them know. So I want to get into talking about a few things. One, of course, will be your book, and also learning more about your company and things of that nature. So Dr. Joy, your title is intimacy coach. You're also an educator with over 16 years of sex research and educational experience. And your new book, it is titled My World, A Manual of Pleasure. You said that this book came to be when you received feedback that you need to write a book when creating content for your workshops, book clubs, and home parties with your intimacy products. So my first question is, can you provide us with more insight about your new book and how this manual can actually help couples?
Absolutely. Like you did your homework, sis.
I'm trying.
So yeah, with the different people that will come into talking about sexuality, especially when they meet someone that is very comfortable with talking about it and very non-judgmental, they will even go a little deeper than what I would say is the barbershop talk, or talking to auntie. Okay. And what happens though is, when you do barbershop talk or when you talk to auntie, sometimes you're not always getting the truth. And when I say the truth, I'm saying oftentimes they're telling their truth of how they feel comfortable, but sexuality and deep down inside, oftentimes people are not even to their most intimate partners expressing all of their most intimate feelings about pleasure. Okay. Some people were even taught that certain things that are pleasurable are bad. So there's some psychological and a lot of that mental manifestation of what we just like to call baggage, but sometimes it's traumatic. So sometimes it's actually trauma is something that will have a battle in relationships, and that could be seen early on. Or sometimes it's not even understood. The top two reasons for divorce are lack of finances, but the second one is actually lack of intimacy. I wrote this book because intimacy has a lot to do with being able to identify what you like and being able to express that. And I would always say, we weren't born in this world with a manual. We didn't come in with a manual. That's right. We need to be able to communicate that. And oftentimes people aren't able to verbally communicate those things, especially if you were taught that it was bad or if it was nasty, or that you shouldn't do it, or that you shouldn't like it, or that it's your responsibility to please the other person. Right. Okay. And for some people, with pleasing the other person, it's a guessing game. And they
I just
think
don't
it's
communicate.
okay to guess, where the other person is like, oh, I wish they would figure it out.
Right, right.
So what's the solution to that? Create a manual. And so
Okay,
that's what I did. I
okay.
wrote a book that has activities in it. It's a journal. So you're actually writing, and it's not just about like, what do you like? It questions even some of the things you don't like.
Okay, okay.
And
Yeah, you do ask that in the book. You do ask
yeah.
that. Mhm.
And so my world it's my world of pleasure. And it's me giving myself permission to be pleased. And it's also giving ownership to the fact that I deserve pleasure.
Mm, okay. Well, she said it. I she said it. So I want to actually dive right into the book and talk more about My World, a Manual of Pleasure. Now, when purchasing the book, I will say this, it's definitely about implementation. You can definitely do it by yourself, but you can also do this, of course, which will be great with your spouse, significant other, or your partner, right? Whoever you're intimate with. So I did like the fact that there was different sections that would say, did you know? And you would list that specific subject that you were talking about, but you would also elaborate and provide more information about it, right? And then you also had the activities, which I'll talk more about as well in the book. So you provided a lot of knowledge and a lot of information and some things that I didn't even know. I was like, hold on, what is that? So it did teach me some things as well, and something that I definitely want to implement and do the activities with my husband. So now, like for example, I'm gonna go on page 4. Now, this is the book. This is the book. And I'm gonna go ahead and head over to page 4. Now, page 4 talks about, did you know there are 3 simple pleasures of life, which are number 1, food, sex, and relaxation. Now, to be honest with you, I was wondering, why is food number 1 if we're talking about intimacy? I'm thinking sex because food is a necessity, but I'm thinking sex is also something that is very important as well in a relationship or the person that you're intimate with. But you do ask a question, how can you apply this information to your pleasurable experience? And you ask that pretty often throughout the book. So I wanted to know, Dr. Joy, why do you believe this question is so important to ask in the manual?
Because we always say knowledge is power, but it's really applied knowledge.
Right, right. That's true.
So the did you know is like, all right, if you didn't know it, now you do. What you gonna do with that information?
Right. Okay.
How are you going to apply this? And not just how are you going to apply it in, just any general way. How do you apply it to your experience and make things more pleasurable for
Make it
you?
work for you, right? Not only
And
work for you, but work for your spouse as well, or the person that you're with.
and the other piece I think is the very first part of this about who are you?
Hmm.
Really kind of assessing where you are, what you like, and then you actually go through that exercise multiple times.
I saw that. I
Because
did see that.
sometimes the first thing that you will think of is what somebody else told you was okay for
Okay.
you to say.
Oh, okay. So that's what I was wondering, why you had this in here multiple times. Okay. So that's
And
good
so
to
then
know.
when you go through it a second time, then you ain't got that first thing out of the way, which was the most appropriate thing, or
Okay.
the basic thing. And so then you go back through and you like, well, let me get a little clearer. Now I
Right.
see this
Okay.
vision holistically because I've gone through all of my senses. So
Okay.
now, it's not that, I just wanted the beach. I really wanted the hammock and I really wanted, the ocean. And
Mm,
I, visualized in the beginning that,
right.
it was in the middle of the day, but I actually like the sunrise. So,
So it could
it
be
makes you,
adding more, or you could probably change your mind what you thought then you probably might want to do something different now.
And even when, so going to like the three things, the simple pleasures of life, thinking about food, it's like, okay, yeah, in the beginning I was like, yeah, I want to have some chocolate there, but now you know what? I think I want chocolate covered strawberries. You know
I
what?
was thinking
I
that.
think
I
I
was
want,
thinking that.
but I think I want
Right.
French chocolate.
Okay.
So it allows you then to be specific. So remember, the
Right.
whole point of this though is that it's a manual. So then when somebody asks you, well, can I get you something, as a gift to make you, feel special? You can say, yes, I like some French chocolate covered strawberries that are drizzled, and you know exactly what
That
you
sounds
want.
super good. Now, speaking, since you brought that up about an activity, I wanted to talk more about that. So, in the book, you have the did you know, you have the pleasure mapping. You also spoke about, if I'm saying it correctly, was it Tantra? Am I saying it right? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay. You said the 4 levels of happiness, the 3 simple pleasures of life. But I want to talk about one specifically. And it was actually, let me make sure I got it right. It was page 18. No, was it 18? No, it was page 16. I'm sorry. So this was an activity. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this was a couple of years ago. I was in this nonprofit. It was a women's group. It was a nonprofit organization. And it was a woman that was actually part of the group, and she was a sexologist. And she had something that was a coupon book, and I purchased the coupon book. My husband and I probably used it maybe once or twice. But when I saw this in the book, it brought back memories because you actually have in the book coupon book. So this was something I was like, OMG, okay, she has this. This is something I would really love to do. So you say in the book, you say create your own coupon book, scratch offs for your desires. Include some areas where you'd like to explore or enhance your pleasure. And then the great thing about this is you have a list of what you could utilize with your partner, significant other, or spouse, right? And then towards the end, you said, what others would you add? So you can definitely add on to that. But a few that I was looking at and I actually like, you said, I will be your servant for one day. You'll be treated like royalty for one day. You're in control for a whole day. I was like, okay. And then you had some other ones, get out of trouble, no questions asked. And one that I really like towards the last one, you put lap or pole dance. And the reason why I like that one is I actually have a pole in my house. So I said, oh, okay, this is great. And then the great thing is, besides the list, you can actually turn, and on the back, on the next page is the coupon book. You can take whichever one you want to utilize and put it on the coupon book. And so I think that that's such a great activity, because what if you want to do something for for that person that you love, and you say, you know what, you'll be treated like royalty today. But it doesn't mean that it have to actually just be for one day. It can be for more than one day, but let's play around. Let's do this. So I thought that was so great that you had that. I really do. I thought that was a great activity, and I just wanted to show that a little a little bit. I know I'm talking too much about it, but yeah.
No, it's fine. And let me tell you where that came from too. So that came from being around individuals that not only did they not know how to um, be creative with their partner, they
Oh, okay.
also didn't know how to creatively communicate different things, because when you may feel like you are not doing something and you're trying to make up a way of
Oh,
um,
doing it.
doing something better or doing
Right.
something different, having those different ideas, sometimes they will try to overcomplicate it. Like, sometimes
Okay.
men will try to, oh, I got to go spend a whole lot of money. You know,
Right, right, right.
or
Very true.
sometimes women are trying to think of some ways that maybe someone else did something, or something that they heard,
Right. Okay.
where it's just like, you know what, this kind of moves into role play.
We're gonna talk about that too.
So,
We are gonna get on that too. So I'm glad you brought that up. And that kind of mixes in when we were talking about the coupon book and the role playing. So I did definitely want to talk about that. Now, with the activities in this book that a couple can implement on their most intimate desires. So, me myself mentioning about my husband and stuff like that, we have so much going on because we just had a son that's about 8 months, be 9 this month, and have so many things going on with, what I'm talking about, right? So what would you recommend for that busy couple when to have time to focus on their pleasurable experiences in this manual?
so it's two things. And it kind of depends on what stage they are in.
Okay.
So one thing is you can complete this individually.
Right.
You
Okay.
can complete this like, for not thinking even about your partner. You can also complete this thinking about where you are right now, or you can complete this thinking about where you would like to be.
Okay.
So there are different ways that you can do it. And then if you're trying to do it with your partner, you can also schedule time to do this. Because oftentimes the busy family neglects each other for everybody else. And what this does is gives you a easy way of saying like, oh, okay, you know what? We're gonna do an activity today. And I got
Okay.
it out of this book.
Right.
Or
Right.
did you know? And you will notice like the did you knows go from like you showed the one that's got 3 things on it, and then there's another one that's like full of words.
Right. Right.
So it's a conversation starter as well.
Okay.
And it can lead into other things. So it could be something that's scheduled if you're a more organized family. If you're not so much, then you do have to schedule it. But it also I'm giving you hints about book number 2 because this is part of a series.
Okay.
Yeah. And so book number 2 does talk about communicating.
Okay.
And that communication piece is there are lots of different ways to use the manual to communicate, because sometimes it's just like, hey, I finished it, here it is.
Right.
Do
Right.
your homework, read it.
Right. That's
Or it's as I was doing this, it brought up something. I want to talk to you about it, or I want to learn how you answer this as well. So it truly is, I mean, it falls underneath self-help, it falls underneath personal development, but even as a couple, sporadically, the whole book together, you do your book, I do my
do
book.
mine. Right. Okay.
Like,
Because I was gonna ask, should a couple do, get 2 instead of 1, which, like you mentioned, this book could be specifically for me, and then maybe we need to get a second one just in case, to have both of us where the communication would be and stuff like. So I definitely, you kind of answered my question with that.
yeah.
That one,
And
yeah.
and when I say like it depends on the couple, there are some people that I've talked to that were like, I want the ebook because I would never write these things down.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I did put an ebook together.
You did? Okay. So they would,
And
so you do have, okay. So you have an ebook as well. Okay.
and it's for that individual that doesn't feel comfortable writing down their most intimate information.
Oh, because I was going to ask that, because it's like you're keeping everything bottled up here. And so you do have a section in the book that says notes, where if you want to release that, you can do that.
Absolutely.
So that
But
makes sense.
for some individuals, that that communication piece is not something that they are ready. So some people are in kind of that self-discovery area,
Okay.
and they're not quite ready to share that with their partner because they have to feel more comfortable with it. I've got men that are into, and I know we'll move towards this at some point because we're keeping it, still. I go from mild to wild in the book. I do talk about vanilla, and I bring up
Yes, you do.
BDSM. So I most recently had someone tell me that they were into, and so I won't say the acronym, but it's a dominant dad, little girl type of system. And so BDSM is about trust, power, and control and authority.
Oh, okay.
So being, and this is a married male that is married to a woman, heterosexual relationship, and never realized that the attraction that he has to his wife is heightened when she acts in like a little girl type of mode.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
that type
I've never
of
heard of that.
but that type of communication is what some people are not comfortable with telling their
Right.
partner.
Oh, that makes sense. That
And
makes sense.
so
I'm
once
glad
they
you gave
discover
that
that, it has
example.
to sit well with them. So
Right.
here's
Okay.
another fact, though, that your audience might appreciate or maybe they won't. But going into a dungeon, and if you're not familiar with dungeons, dungeons are places with devices where people that practice the BDSM, which is all about, again,
Mm.
power, trust, control, and authority. It's not about sexuality, but oftentimes sexual acts are performed there.
Oh, okay.
So in
Okay.
a dungeon, you may have someone that is going to play in a dungeon because they cannot play at home.
Okay. Wow.
You may have a very successful CEO that is stressed out
Mm-hmm.
and cannot feel comfortable being submissive when they go home. They're the boss at work and they have to be the boss at home because
Right.
society has taught them that
Mm-hmm.
their role is to be the boss.
Mm.
So they get tired of that, but they do not feel comfortable telling their significant other.
Oh,
So
okay.
what they do is they go to dungeons and play.
Mm. Oh, wow. You telling me about a whole number? I was not expecting that. You gave me a few examples.
Yes. And they pay to play as well.
Right, right. Okay. Okay.
So that's the other reality behind some people not wanting to write these things down. And let's not forget what we talked about, because oftentimes individuals are taught that their pleasurable things are nasty,
Right.
dirty,
Mm-hmm.
bad.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
they don't want their significant other to know that side of them, especially if they've just discovered it. They need a little bit of time and they need a way
Oh,
to
okay.
feel comfortable. And if I can plug, that's book number 3.
That's what, okay, because I was, okay, so you said book number 2 will probably be more of the communication part, because I definitely do believe this book has where you can communicate. You can definitely communicate and kind of, where you and your significant other, your spouse, can let out your inner, your wild side, right? But it seems like from when you mentioned about book number 2, I don't want to go too deep. That probably might be for a second a second interview. But book number 2 sounds like it will be more of a communication type. When you mentioned about the one example about the well, when you talked about the CEO not really wanting to communicate with their spouse about some of their fantasies or possibly fetishes and stuff like that, right? So
Yeah,
it's
and you know what, Latoya, it happens during dating. It
oh,
happens when people are dating and they're showing their representative. It happens when people want to be liked, when people want the other person to be impressed by
right,
them.
okay.
And it happens with people pleasers.
Ah, right. Okay. Okay.
And culturally, there are some cultures that have taught one individual that this is how you're supposed to please your potential partner,
Right.
and this is how the other partner is supposed to please you. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what makes your relationship successful, because both of you all are all about the other person and you have never communicated what really pleases you, let
Mm-hmm.
alone figured it out. Because if you really started dating and you were in your 20s, you didn't know what you liked. You
Okay.
hadn't even explored, you hadn't even figured it out.
Right, right. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Dr. Joyce. So I do also want to talk about in your book, so page 26. Let me go to that real quick. Page 26. Now what I wanted to talk about on page 26, you ask a question, which is, what do you like to see when you want to be pleased? Which is discussing, I see you show visual. And you mentioned with visual, you mentioned, I do want to bring this up. You mentioned about porn. Okay. So porn is pretty much seen, as something that can be seen as bad or you shouldn't look at it. And I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on porn, and should couples view this together to have more intimacy in their relationship?
Absolutely. And I say it is seen as something bad only because we have interpreted things that are something that may be a fantasy is a bad thing. And
Okay.
scientifically, having a fantasy is healthy because it has your imagination going. So now you start thinking about being a dreamer, being able to be creative. All of those things are things that are good things, except for when we want to attach it to sexuality. Who
Right.
told you that?
Okay.
Where is that a fact?
Mhm. Right. And I think also, and that's why I want to bring up about, people, couples or whatever watching porn, because sometimes the woman might not be comfortable and seeing the man watching this porn. You see what I'm saying? And like, oh, well, you watching that woman, and that's what you really, you just never know. But I feel as though that's why I wanted to ask that question, because I have heard some couples say that we watch it together. You see what I'm saying? But then maybe there's a couple where the significant other or the spouse, sometimes it can be the woman, where she doesn't feel comfortable with that, or that's seen as bad, or that's nasty. But we intimacy and sex, that's something that is good for a couple. So that's why I really wanted to ask you and see, how did you feel about that?
And well, so honestly, it ain't got nothing to do with how I feel about it. But it's because it's about that couple. And
Right, right.
it's two things though that I want to bring up in response to that, because one is, if and we know this as a fact, most men are visual.
Right.
So if your partner is a male that wants something visual, and this is one of the things that they enjoy, if you can't enjoy it together, don't make them feel guilty because they
Right.
enjoy it.
Right.
What does that do for your relationship? Because now they're not going to be open about other things that they enjoy because of the
Exactly.
judgment that's
Right.
coming that you shouldn't. Now, the
Mm,
second thing is, in the case that you gave, why does a woman have this mindset that something's bad with pornography? There's so much that's out there now. This is not like, the 70s.
oh, it is.
So
It is a lot out.
there's there's so many different options. And if you're closed-minded about it, then there's nothing anybody's going to say that's going to be like, oh, you should look into this, you
Right.
should try. But if you're on the fence, or if you're like, oh, well, you know what, maybe I should look into this, your biggest sex organ is your brain.
Mm,
And so oftentimes you're not necessarily looking at something from a aspect of being turned on, because if your brain has told you that you should not like it, then you won't.
mm, right.
So if you're going to give it a chance because of your partner, and you all are selecting something, then there should be no pressure when you're selecting it, because if you don't like it, guess what? Find another one, cut it off.
Right, right. Which you definitely do say that in the book. It's you do ask a question of, okay, so when you're talking about the tantra, you said, would you repeat this experience? Why or why not? Or what would you change? So you
Yes.
do ask in the book, is this something that you would want to do again? Is this something you enjoy? So Yeah, I thank you so much for clarifying that with the question dealing with the porn, because I thought that was something that was really important to ask. I do
Can I throw
also,
in can I throw in one other thing in
yes,
that
go
too?
ahead, go ahead.
Because and we haven't talked about the pleasure mapping, but the pleasure mapping is early in the book as well. As we go through different developmental points, whether it's physically, whether it's emotionally, whether it's mentally, all of these different things will actually change what pleases us. So
Mm-hmm.
staying up to date on that, I give the example in the book that breastfeeding can change the way a woman feels about her
I
breast.
saw that. Mm-hmm.
So it may have been a sensitive area, and then it's no longer something that you feel sexually aroused by. It could also work in the opposite. Men may have different type of injuries where their body just doesn't feel the same, or if they're taking blood thinners, the body doesn't operate the same on blood thinners when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
the erection. And so all of these different things, your body changes, your mind changes, what's pleasurable for you changes as well.
That is true.
It may be a scar that you now have from surgery or accident or something.
Oh,
And so
yeah,
now you're conscious of that,
that
and it's
scar.
no longer a sexy place for you.
Okay.
That's the same thing that happens with your senses, and visually you may not have liked pornography, but maybe you do now.
Mm-hmm.
And the judgment that may go with, I don't want to say that I like something, or I saw something, or I was exposed to something, or I heard something, and before, I didn't like that, and now I do. That happens a lot with anal. I talk to
Okay.
a lot of people with many African American men, Caribbean men, and West African men, yeah. West African men are so anti anything near their anus.
Oh, okay.
But when you understand the science behind it,
Mm-hmm.
the same pleasurable nerves in the anus for a female are the same pleasurable nerves in the anus for a male. So it doesn't make you gay if you like it. It doesn't mean that you have heterosexual tendencies if you are a male and you like something anally penetrating.
Okay.
Because it's not what's being done, it's who's doing it.
Oh,
Because
okay.
many of
That's
these
true.
same men will be comfortable with doing anal on a woman,
Right.
or they will think it's sexy to see two women together, but they won't call it gay activity.
Right. Right. That's true. Yeah,
So
that
it's
is
all
true.
of these different things where it's like, as you think about, well, why do I feel this way? Why do I think this way? Oh, it's because of something that somebody said, and they really didn't have all the information to back it up. So then when
Okay.
I hear somebody else say it and I'm more open, I'm like, maybe I should try this. Maybe I want to explore it. That's what this gives you the opportunity to do. And if you didn't feel that way 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, hopefully you'll keep the book for 2 years. Then
Right.
you can go back and look at it and say, oh, you know what? Yeah, I had this experience, but we tried this. We really like this. Maybe we'll like this too. And it could be something very vanilla, like, maybe we can start cooking together because we realize that we really like some of the same foods and the smells and the textures. And we didn't
Mm,
realize that we could really enjoy this meal in a total different way.
right.
So now we're going to take cooking classes together. And now we're going to put more emphasis on redecorating the kitchen so that both of us can be in there. Like, all of these different things can snowball into having stronger, intimate relationships, and
I
you
didn't
being
think of that.
happy, your partner being happy. And if you haven't found that partner, if you realize you need to get rid of that partner, then the next one, you will have your manual ready
Right, right,
and
right.
you will know.
Right, right. And it's good. I was kind of thinking about when you were speaking about the five senses. I just briefly wanted to touch on that because with that five senses, I remember when I was pregnant and sensations were actually better, was real good when I was pregnant. So that's one thing I will say I do miss about being pregnant. So ladies, if you ain't been pregnant yet and you thinking about doing it in the future, I would say, and I do understand every woman is different. But I did want to just, when you said senses, I said, oh, it just brought me back to my pregnancy. And I was like, I had some good sensations at that time that were very good. So lastly, I did want to cover one more thing in your book. It was actually page 32. Oh, where we talked about the role play. So you did do the did you know role playing can be vanilla or kinky. So do you think couples should do more role playing in their relationship to spice things up and keep it sexy in the bedroom?
If that's what they want to do.
Because I definitely do think that role playing is something that is very fun. It does keep it spicy because you
It's
can,
definitely healthy. That's what we're going back
yes,
talking about,
yes,
the creativity.
right,
And so the thing is, and I talk about in some of my workshops, they're not, I don't think I mentioned it too much in this book about like the difference between fantasies and fetishes and how even a fetish can be healthy. It's just when things go towards those kind of illegal things
right,
and you
okay,
start, getting into some things that, are just, yeah, we just don't do in this country. So,
right,
so the same thing with role playing. Role playing is still kind of like on that fantasy side,
right,
but for some individuals, it could be triggering because if there is molestation and it
right,
reminds them of a particular situation, or if it is too far away from where their mind can actually be creative. And one person is like so serious about it, and the other person is like, I ain't really putting that much into it. Then like one person gonna get frustrated over it. So it's truly going to depend on that couple
a
to
couple,
be able
okay,
to
that makes sense.
communicate like this is what we're going to do. Because a man could be frustrated if he come in his house and he never know who he gonna walk into.
Mm. Well, it's real good that you bring up different examples because to be honest with you, like when I mentioned about role playing, I'm thinking, oh, that's something, why would a couple not want to do that? Right. And then you said, well, it depends on the couple, and you provide like some scenarios of as to why maybe something happened to that person, like you mentioned about sexual abuse. And so they might not be comfortable doing that specific role playing. So I didn't really think of it like that. So I'm
Oh,
glad
I'm
you
gonna give you a real simple one
elaborated on
too.
it.
And I think I mentioned it in here. Handcuffs. Some people handcuffs ain't a good thing, but that's bringing back some memories of some
Oh
time.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
and it could be. I'm saying it in a light way, but it could be something criminal side. But it could
Okay.
also be another sexual experience with somebody else that didn't go too good, and
Mm.
and they try
Oh
to forget
wow.
it.
Oh yeah. I didn't think you bringing up some good examples. I did not think about it at first. Okay, yeah, that does make sense. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for sharing that.
yeah.
Because
So you want to talk? Yeah, you want to
yeah,
talk about that first. You
right,
want
right,
to, make sure that because there are also different like levels of role playing. It could be something as
right.
simple
Okay.
as, we're going to go out to eat and we're gonna use different names. We're
Oh,
gonna
okay.
act like when
Yeah,
we
I
first
have
met
seen
each
that.
other.
I have seen that. I think that might be a good one I can try to
And
do.
so if you're reliving an experience, you're role playing because maybe that experience was 5, 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that because I didn't think of that. And you brought it, you elaborated a little bit more than me just thinking, oh, role playing is just so good. So I also did want to talk about your business. So you are a top performing bedroom candy consultant and trainer. Can you go into more detail about how long you've been doing bedroom candy and how you have been able to be so successful as a consultant?
So I cannot believe it's 9.5 years.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Okay.
rarely do you stay in a company 9.5 years. And when we talk
Wow.
about direct sales company, because
Right.
Bedroom Candy started off, when I started, we only had about 15 products. We started off with
Okay.
3, then we moved to 7, and I started like 6 months after Candy. If you're not
Oh,
familiar
okay.
with Candy Birds is with the group
Right.
Escape. So Grammy
Mhm.
Award winning songwriter, mom, housewife of Atlanta.
Atlanta. Right.
Yeah. And so when she started the company, I was actually in Atlanta, knew some of the people in that circle, but I was also, prior to that, I was the sorority sister that always threw the bachelorette parties.
Oh,
Like, everybody, like, yeah, you
okay.
get Joy to do it. And then, when like the ones that would get married, when they were all married off, it was like, okay, us single girls that, the girlfriends, that
Right.
group, the I was like, we need to keep having these parties. So I would call it the pre-bachelorette party, just in case
Oh,
I never
okay.
get married. We gonna keep partying every year. And so my girls' husbands started planning like the family vacations around when y'all gonna get together. Cause it would be a weekend and the wives would come home and they would have this new information. Because we would do like all the types of things you would do on a regular bachelorette party, but it would be like leveled up every time.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
they came
Mm.
back with some new skills, some new information,
Oh.
and the husbands was playing
I know
around.
they
And
were
so one year,
excited. I know they were happy with you.
I asked one of my girls, I was like, "Look, I'm always planning it. Why don't you all plan it?" And she was like, "Because nobody can think like you.
Mm.
Because it was always creative." And I was like, "Wait a minute. That's a business idea then."
Right, right.
So as I started moving into entrepreneurship, being in Atlanta and knowing like when we would bring in some of those companies that would do the products at the bachelorette parties, I'll be like, "Hey, girl, you can't use that twice. You're gonna have to throw that away after this. You can't put that in that area." It's that. So I was
Mm.
educating them about different things. And when Candy came out with a high quality luxury brand, and she was like, "I'm just not putting my face on something. I am actually investing so that this is not just high quality for everybody, but it really has our people in mind, people of color. And so our sizes are different, the types of
Mm.
flavors, the colors of our products, like all of those things. She was intentional about it. And then the mindset of a boss. The fact that as a celebrity, she could have just put it in retail, but she was like, "No, I really want to help some other individuals become entrepreneurs. I really want to give this opportunity to be a boss where you don't have to punch a clock," because Candy has never punched a
Mm.
clock. She's been an
Right.
entrepreneur since she was 16. So nobody has ever told her how much money she could make. So
Mm.
all of those things were things that I, knew about Candy. And I was like, all right, let me jump on this.
Mm.
And jumping on it in the beginning was one of the best things that I could do, because in writing my dissertation, there was no way for me to work a 9 to 5. But I was able to have this business to be able to get like my time schedule, work around it, my financial freedom to be able to not have debt when I finish my degree,
Mm.
and to be able to still lead other people, educate them, and I'm introduced to a whole new community of people where before, if I wanted to do marriage family counseling, I could not infuse this type of information that I have here from all of my international studies in those type of settings. So it
Mm.
truly just opened up so many doors for me. And the product line now is over 250 products. We are a
Oh,
lifestyle
wow.
brand now.
Okay.
So right now, my makeup is a part of our bedroom candy business.
Oh,
Yes,
I didn't
we
know
have
that. Okay.
cosmetics.
Oh, wow.
I've got CBD products on me right now because we have
Oh
a
my
CBD
God.
line.
I did
We've
not
got
know that.
hair care.
I thought it was only just adult
No, ma'am.
intimacy products. Okay, I'm learning something new.
Yes, the
Wow.
shine that
Okay.
you see in my hair is from our hair care line.
Oh,
We've
wow.
got books. I'm actually talking about putting my book in our bedroom candy line. So, I
Okay.
mean, there's so many opportunities. We've got cleansing bars from other consultants that started the first year.
Mhm.
And so like really
Wow.
just being a part of a community that supports each other. You know, it
Right.
is it's yeah, it's good to see people that look like you win.
Right.
You know, she's on
Wow.
Broadway right now.
She does a lot. I mean, you can even see it when you watch the Atlanta show. So Real Housewives of Atlanta. So wow, I didn't know the bedroom candy grew that much. I didn't know it was other stuff that she created. So I did learn something new off that. That's woo, okay.
Yes.
So
So let me say this last piece.
okay.
So it's one of those things where we do have the products, we do have home parties, so it allows us to build relationships. I spent 2 years overseas and was still able to have my business grow. Matter of fact, I was in Dubai where it was illegal for me to do
Wow. Okay.
bedroom candy the way that we do it here in the US, because public
Mm-hmm.
display of affection is illegal over there. But
Mm.
when you got remote control panties, then you can be on an escalator with your partner. You all can have foreplay in Dubai wearing your abaya, and you're still able to have that type of connection.
Oh
So
wow.
those are the things that I'm also able to bring to other individuals as well. And it saves marriages in some types. It
Right.
also saves some individuals from exploring with other people and catching STDs, having unwanted pregnancies, like just several different things. Orgasms make the skin glow. So being at sis, you glowing up there.
Oh,
So being able to, help people,
right.
mental health, emotional health, sexual health. A lot of men don't realize that if they don't ejaculate, they could end up having prostate issues.
I think
So
I saw that in the book. Mhm.
yeah, so it's just a lot of different pieces of information that being in counseling or going through like a church, it's too late.
Right.
And
Mm.
having that safe place for some people in their homes. And then for others, it's like, and this is a business. So you can join this business. There's no application. You pay a small fee to be your own boss and get this type of
Mm.
training, get this type of support, be in this type of community, make however much money you want to make, whenever you want to make it.
Right. Okay. And you pretty much answered my question on how, I mean, you can definitely elaborate more, but if somebody watched this interview or this podcast, or if they see you like at a home party or something like that and they want to join, let me ask you something real quick. Do you have any men, or it's mostly women, right?
It's mostly women, but we have what we call the BK man on fire.
Okay. I
So
was
yes,
curious to
because
ask
we
that.
have we have bedroom candy for men products.
Okay. I mean, I
Yeah,
should
so
know.
our
I don't
beard oil,
know.
yeah, our beard oil, we have pleasure products specifically where you can't use it unless you got a penis. So it's for men.
Oh, okay.
So like there are so many different aspects to the business side
Okay.
of men being able to give a different perspective to women that are in heterosexual relationships where they want to hear the male perspective. So yes, we have male
You
consultants.
do.
The
Okay.
other thing is, if you know anything about Candy Burris, you know that she is all inclusive. So our business is LGBTQIA plus friendly.
Right.
And that is also from our audience to our products that we have available. And that's also like training that I do. We use gender neutral and we use terms like your lover so that no one feels judged. So
Oh, okay.
everyone also like your lover might not be who you here with. I completely understand that. And if you got a different lover in your head,
Right, right.
then that's who turns you on, that's what pleases you, that's what gets you there. We don't want to block that as a bedroom candy consultant trying
Right.
to tell you what something should look like or who or why or how. So
Oh, okay,
all
okay.
of that even makes us more of a resource for individuals. So that's the reason why, we train to keep things very fun. We keep
Mhm.
it simple, but we also keep it valuable so that people
Right.
see us as a resource and they want to keep doing business with us.
Wow. Okay. Well, I did want to ask that because I was curious about the men actually doing the products or being in the business. Lastly, I did want to ask you, Dr. Joy. Now I did ask you a question, which was what are three main learnings about your marriage relationship do you want listeners to get from the interview? So the first one you stated was intimacy is a choice. The second was you deserve pleasure in all forms. And third was intentionally explore or enhance sexiness. So, out of the three, I wanted to cover the last one mainly. I wanted to ask you if you could share with us what do you mean about intentionally explore or enhance sexiness?
So let's just say the opposite of that. If you unintentionally explore or if you unintentionally enhance, then that means you won't repeat it. That means you're not paying attention to why you like it
Right.
or why you don't like it. So my whole thing is intentionally meaning plan for it. Set it up where you are telling your brain, remember we talked about your biggest sex organ is your brain.
Hmm.
You are telling your brain that I'm going to try something different. And I'm going to be open to whatever comes from it, whether I like it or whether I don't.
Mm.
And then after the experience, I'm going to think about whether I liked it or if I didn't, and then why. Why did I like it? Or why didn't I like it? Because then answering those questions, it's an analysis question. Whenever you ask why, it makes you analyze. And if you analyze why you like it, then you might discover there are some other avenues that are around that you can explore, or you can take it to another level and you can enhance that. Or why not? And you might discover that it's because of some other things that some baggage, some trauma, it was like something else. So this is the reason why this is a deal breaker. This is a boundary. This is a no-go for me.
Mm. Okay.
That's why we have to be intentional about it, because if we're haphazard, then the other thing is the way the brain works. When we like something, we want more of it. And
Right.
we need to really understand why we want more of it. Because sometimes we might want more of something that ain't good for us.
Right. Right.
Like
That is
you
true.
ventured off with somebody outside your relationship. It went too far. You were liking it and you kept going. And then you went further and further and further because you never stopped to analyze why you liked it. So then, if you really intentionally wanted to bring that back to your relationship, then that's when you role play and you tell
Mm.
her, like that red lipstick that you saw, let me get you some red lipstick. I want you to wear this tonight.
Oh, I love me some red lipstick. I had to add that in there. I really did. You brought it up, so I had to add. I do love me some red lipstick, some matte red lipstick. Well, let me just first off say, Dr. Joy, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. You have provided so much knowledge and insight. Some things, honestly, I did not know at all. And what I'm really looking forward to is that second book. so, and hopefully also, having you on the show again. I really appreciate you coming out and speaking with me and just providing so much knowledge, some things I didn't know about bedroom candy, some things that you had in the book I didn't know, and I'm pretty sure that the viewers that watch the today's show will learn a lot just like myself. So I really appreciate it. I also did want to say that if you want to connect with Dr. Joy, you can visit her at everythingssexy.net. You can also to shop online at her online store. You can also book a party with Dr. Joy at is it bedroomcandy.com/2704. And then she's also on Instagram and Facebook is Everything's Sexy LLC. Did I miss anything? I want to
No,
make
I
sure.
just like to tell everybody, don't forget there's two S's in the middle because we're super sexy. Everything's sexy. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, yes. So I really enjoyed it. And if you're not a member, make sure to join my exclusive travel community, Travel Romantic Getaways, where we share tips, romantic destinations, and more to prepare you for your next romantic getaway and beyond. You can join by going to travelwithtrg.com. That's travelwithtrg.com. Just fill out a few short questions to become a part of the community. And you have just listened to the Sugar and Spice podcast with your host, Latoya Haynes Piper. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast until the next episode.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Joy.